Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our final discussion of Miss Austen, episode 4. What is going to happen with Isabella? Why does the doctor need to be called? And what happened to Jane's letters? We have so much to discuss tonight. I'm kind of sad I have to say that this has come to an end because we've had so much fun discussing each episode, but never fear, stay to the end, and we'll let you know what we're going to be discussing next after this. So many things have been happening that we have to get to with this final episode. It was emotional. I know all of us were messaging. There was a lot to pack in, lots of changes happening, and we should just jump right into the conversation, right? First, quick introductions. My name is Melissa. I am joined by Marigold and Mindy, and I realized last week when I pointed to introduce you both, it is mirrored. So whichever way we have Marigold, or Mindy joining us. If you haven't clicked subscribe yet, please do subscribe. It really helps the channel. Click the heart button. Let us know that you're loving the content and leave us a comment as well. As we're talking, we want to hear your thoughts as we're going through the episode. All right, our final episode of Miss Austen. We have our quick what's happening in Jane Austen's life for this week. I love this one. I don't know if you guys have seen this quote before, but this week in Jane Austen's life in 1811, she wrote to Cassandra and said, "I will not say that your mulberry trees are dead, but I am afraid they are not." So we see a little bit of Jane's wit coming. Are they dead? Are they not alive? Remains to be seen her playfulness with words there. All right, we're getting into this episode. Mindy, I will let you go ahead and kick us off with our first bullet point, and let's review what's going on.
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Dundas are measuring the vicarage as they prepare to move.
They did not waste any time, did they? They were right in there with measurements. Marigold, what's our next one that we have?
Isabella explains that Mr. Littledale once asked her to marry him.
So sad that her father said he wasn't good enough for her, right? And that she had to turn him down. And then we have, in the past, the Austen women grieved the loss of their patriarchy. So go ahead, Mindy, and give us what's happening for our next point.
Mr. Hobday arrives in Southampton and offers to rescue Cassandra and her loved ones from their current state.
Oh, so much going on. Everyone's traveling, I feel like, as well in this episode, a little bit more travel than we've normally seen. And that was a very sad. We'll talk about that point in a little bit in more depth. And Marigold, our next one.
She cannot accept him this time because she will not leave Jane.
Oh, I was so torn at that one. And then we have, after Edward's wife Elizabeth dies during childbirth and Cassandra helps him through his grief, the Austen ladies move to Chawton and live in a cottage there. Jane calls their new home perfection. And I think we'll be getting into that scene a little bit. Marigold has some points of contention that she would like to point out that we will get to. Mindy, go ahead.
Back in the present, Isabella and Cassandra learn that Mr. Littledale is leaving town.
Oh, my goodness. Marigold.
Dinah pitches herself down the stairs.
Oh, Dinah. Oh, I love you. And Mr. Littledale is summoned. He expresses his feelings for Isabella. True love needs a little push sometimes. We saw there. Go ahead, Mindy, with our next one.
Cassandra is given one final letter, and it was Jane's last letter to Eliza.
And then Marigold.
She burns the letters when she returns home.
And she remembers all the love she and her sisters shared as she drives off in the carriage to her next adventure there. It was so good. It's so sad that we came to the end of episode 4, but I would love to hear both of your thoughts on how closely did you feel that this adaptation was aligned to the book, just your overall sense now that we've seen all of the episodes.
I unfortunately, the further away from the book that I read, I remember less of it. So I don't remember all the different things. I do remember a part in the book that mentions her Jane's melancholy, and it was mentioned also in the adaptation. So I felt like I remembered that part. I was like, because it hit me in the book the same way I think it hit me in the movie when you realize, oh, she keeps having these bouts of melancholy, which are very difficult for her, and which leads to Cassandra not wanting to leave her too, with this difficult in her life.
Absolutely. And Mindy, how about for you?
I actually threw in a slide. The next
Oh,
one, if you go to there, it connects to my comments about how closely it was aligned to the book. Because, first of all, I guess I remember Dinah in a different way. I thought that she was a tad bit older.
mm,
And so when they, when they cast this younger person, that doesn't bother me at all. It didn't make a huge difference except that I just pictured her being older. But in this scene where she throws herself down the stairs, I seem to think in the book, she was just kind of like milling around and packing, and she was in the kitchen and she just did a swoon, and like a faint, Whereas this, she could have legitimately killed herself. Because like we know what's going to happen, right? Because we've read the book, but there was the moment when she was at the top of the stairs and she looked over, and I actually screamed, "Don't do it!" Like,
I know too. I was like, that's too tall, too high.
right? Like well, because they read the part in Persuasion where Louise like jumps, right?
yeah.
And so it was like, oh no, Dinah's gonna jump. So I was really distraught by this part, and I was just curious, as we have discussed before. I'm not sure why they changed it. I think maybe because this is more dramatic.
Think so. Yeah, and they wanted that tie-in when she says, "Oh, you were really kind of weird. We were just reading that part in Persuasion, and this happens." And she kind of gives her a little bit of a cheeky grin, but it's like, Dinah, there was no Captain Wentworth waiting to catch you. Like, what were you thinking here, girl? Let's make good choices, and that is not throwing ourselves on the stairs. But you had to admire her commitment to the role.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, she gets 10 out of 10 for execution, I guess, because it worked.
What did you think, Melissa, as far as the adaptation?
I think that felt really jarring to me. I was okay with it for the most part. And I will say the book felt a little bit more seamless with the jump back in time, back to our current time for what the novel was set in. And I think we talked about this in episode 1. It kind of bothered me a bit when it was jumping. And I don't know if I got used to it or if it felt like they kind of hit their pacing as it went on with the episodes, and I wasn't so like seeing cut here, cut here, cut here. And I felt like in the moment going throughout. But I was happy with it overall. The filming, the characters, it all captured me. And I guess, like Marigold said, I kind of left the book behind and I was immersed in this new world that they were creating. All right, let's talk about what did we each love about this adaptation of Miss Austen. Mindy, why don't you let us know what you loved?
Well, I threw in another slide here because I happened to get a great screen capture.
Oh, yeah.
How much did we love this moment, everybody? I mean, I think the world collectively sighed at this beautiful moment and the way that they captured the door separating them, and just, that unspoken love that
mm,
you can feel. I mean, look at her face, look at his,
I
it's
know.
perfect. There was nothing that was missing from this moment. It was
Yeah.
so good. I loved it.
Can I say I
It gives you
agree?
that tightness in your chest that you're like, oh, please get together.
I was gonna say, cinematically, it was like perfect because usually they have those door scenes where you have to flip from one side to the other side of the door. I loved how they had this window so that you could
Yes.
see both. It was really done nicely. I agreed with you.
And they gave it to us twice because the proposal moment, and we get that shot with Cassandra inside. Oh, that was
Yeah.
so good. The like blurring action, and then we get her smile to herself. And I loved that scene. I thought it was so well done.
Absolutely.
And I think we were all pretty happy with the historical accuracy with the costumes for the most part, where it was filmed. Felt very like very intentional in the rooms that they had, the way it was filmed, the outfits that they chose for the different scenes. We really saw that shift. I think it made it more noticeable of those lighter colors that we saw Jane and Cassandra in. And then when we got to these later episodes, it was a lot of dark, heavy colors that we were seeing,
Um,
which felt appropriate for the mood of this episode.
no.
Who are
Him.
your favorite characters? I'm curious.
Oh, I was gonna say my favorite part. I was gonna say my favorite part is actually when they were reading the Persuasion, and not just because it's my favorite book, but I loved how was it Lizzie was like, no, like she had to get up. And she's like, she killed her. Why did she do this to us? Why is she doing this? Like, I just love it was like that funny. Meanwhile, you can see how Dinah's like plotting her head, but it was comical, but without being too much. It was just such a light part. And that was my favorite. I think it might have been my favorite part of the whole show. Just it made it for me. I loved it.
It was such a good scene. That was one of the ones that I wrote down as like that captured the essence of it. And didn't it give you that feeling of wishing that it was your first time reading Jane's novels again and like being in that moment? And also to think of living in a world where even if you haven't read them, you probably know spoilers because it's out there in pop culture for everyone to be talking about. And like being in that setting where you truly have no idea what's going to happen next was they did such a good job capturing the spirit of that.
I agree.
Mindy, any favorites from you, scene wise or character wise?
Oh, I think it's kind of difficult to pick a favorite, but I really think the actress, and I don't know her name off the top of my head, so I do apologize for this, but the actress that they cast to play Jane Austen, I feel like that is such a heavy a task to be assigned or to get selected. But I think she was phenomenal. And I would love to just give her some kudos because I think she did a great job. And I actually saw her in a different movie over the weekend, Mickey 17. It's
Oh,
relatively new.
let's talk about that.
Okay. Okay. She's in that one as well. And she affects this different sort of accent. And so I thought, oh my goodness, she has all of this range. So if I had to pick, an actress that I think just really hit the mark in this presentation, I would select her.
I think she did a fantastic job too. I will admit, when I first saw the trailers, I was like, that is not what my Jane Austen looks like. So I was very cautiously optimistic. But once I started watching and saw her in the role, it did come across as a fantastic representation of Jane.
Felt the same.
Was there anything that surprised you? This is always a tricky question.
There is a part that surprised me. I don't want to step on the toes of the proposals though, so I'm not sure if I want to say it now or if I want to say it until the proposal part. So I think I'm gonna zip it for right now and toss it to you both.
And we forgot to say, but spoilers, if you didn't know, episode 4, we're talking about everything here. So stop, go back and watch Miss Austen, go to episode 1, and then you work your way through all these. I don't know if there's anything that really surprised me in these. Marigold, how about you?
Actually, the part where Mary was at Jane's bedside at the end, that kind of surprised me how, especially since it was near the beginning when she said that Jane was cruel and that she remembered her differently. So I still have an issue with this showing her at the bedside where it was like the most tender time of her, and then to be there, how did she have such a different response to her later? So that part kind of confused me a bit.
I almost felt like it was like she just kind of became a little bit bitter towards life the older she got, and that it was trying to show that like she was younger and full of hope and youthfulness a little bit, and then the world just hardened her over time and seeing so much death from happening. And that was, I guess, there was one of those things that it didn't like surprise me, but it reminded me in this episode. Again, we just it talks about this in a few, maybe that last episode or the one before, but the risk of childbirth. It's just,
Mm.
again, like, I mean, you always know, even in today's modern times of medicine, childbirth is a risk, but you just think of the astronomical amount of women that were dying in childbirth back then, and the heavy burden it must have played on your mind to know that that could be happen to you any time with any pregnancy. And so yeah, I noticed that too, Marigold, and I almost just felt like, well, Mary got course to life and even was kind of mean spirited to everyone, including Jane. She didn't even look back at her in a favorable light.
I
Um,
could
yeah. I guess I was a bit surprised on measuring the curtains, like to know that that really happened, that, someone in your family dies, and as a woman that's not married, it's like, okay, like, don't care. This is our space now and you need to move on out. Was just so cold and callous, and hard to watch for Isabella, but she gets her happy
think
ending.
there's a lot about curtains. Even when was it Mary Jo was like, we're gonna need a lot of curtains for this.
Oh,
Keep the light out.
did you guys feel in that scene right before the curtains that it felt like they were trying to mirror a Mr. Collins moment with the way he has his hat and his outfit and they're looking out the window? And I was like, this feels like Mr. Collins going on here.
I could see that.
Okay. Yeah. And they were just kind of coldly standing there looking at each other like, here they come. All right, Mindy, you give us the Easter eggs because you put this together for us.
Okay. So, I feel like maybe because I'm a Disney fan, Disney Pixar, right? So we're always looking for Easter eggs, or a lot of times with Star Wars or Marvel or something, you're looking for those Easter eggs in other pieces. So I wanted to hunt for the Austen novel Easter eggs that were inserted into this. So, of course, we have Mr. Henry Hobday owning an estate in Derbyshire. Which it's really interesting the way it is presented, because when he says he owns this great estate in Derbyshire, Jane has already written Pride and
Right.
Prejudice. And so Cassandra kind of goes, "Ooh, I recognize that," And so I thought that was so cute. Our second one was when Mary pushes them out of Steventon, just as Fanny Dashwood urged her husband to scoot the Dashwoods out of Norland Park in Sense and Sensibility. I thought that was a really similar scene,
Yeah,
the way they played it here.
I felt the
absolutely.
exact same. I'm like, ooh, I could see how that got from that book.
Yes, yes. And then but of course, Jane would have written at least the first couple of drafts, right, of Marianne and Eleanor before that happened to her. And
Mhm.
so maybe that was part of the revision. She was able to go back and add some details after her family
Absolutely.
went through it. Yeah. Then, of course, we have the second chance romances, which abound in this adaptation, which align to persuasion. But I really thought in this particular adaptation of Miss Austen, with the extra bits where we had the whole bit about Mr. Littledale had proposed before, and Isabella had to turn him down because of her father. And then Mary Jane got involved, where she was going to, "Oh, I'm going to live with Isabella so she doesn't go back to that nonsense." I thought that really smacked of persuasion. I don't know about the two of you.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. And here we see Frank Austen make an appearance, and he's so wonderful and jovial, but he wants to know why Jane doesn't write about more sailors,
That was cute.
which yeah, I thought it was really cute too. And then so chronologically, if you're thinking through it, he would have made that comment, and then she would have written the dashing Captain Wentworth. We have just the mention of the purchase of the novel Susan, which became Northanger Abbey. And then Jane tries to play matchmaker for Cassandra and Mr. Hobday. And I would say she kind of does this more than once. She does it various times. So it makes her a little bit like Emma.
That was cute. She was trying to be a bit of a matchmaker there. Go ahead. Go ahead and give us this one as well, Mindy.
Okay, so what I was looking for here would be any time from the past that we had something sort of echoed in the present. And that's where I came up with this idea of parallel moments. So in the past, we saw the Austens, at least the women, right, kind of bebopping from one location to the next, trying to find a suitable place as their new home. And then in the present, we had Mary Jane Dexter and Isabella also searching. I wanted to know your thoughts on those ladies because that piece with Mary Jane and Isabella was new. That wasn't in the book.
Yeah. I felt like it was just representing that like sense of unsettledness and always like looking ahead, like what's the next move sort of rather than the quest for home and comfort and stability that we saw throughout. Marigold, what did you think about those?
I could feel like it gave a sense of urgency too, like that she had to find lodging, so she had to, which made her just like kind of hurry through, and that's how Cassandra could help and do something. So it kind of kept her involved in it. So I was surprised because I didn't remember if I thought I just missed that part of the book. So thank you because I was like, did I not read that part? Did I miss something? But yeah, I didn't remember that part in the book either.
Our second parallel moment was in episode 4. We get just this gentle touch between Mr. Litterdale and Isabella. And then it's very reminiscent of the first episode where we had Cassandra and Mr. Hobday. Just their fingers touch and there's the sparks fly from there.
I loved that part. I felt like Cassandra wanted Isabella to have her chance at life. Like she was really putting her energy into caring for her and wanting her to not necessarily not make the same mistakes that she made, because I think she was intentional about the choices that she made, but she also knew the ramifications of those choices that she was still living with. And she wanted Isabella to have her chance at happiness, stability, a relationship, and all that came with it. And really try to craft that for her as best she could. Marigold, how about for you?
I felt the same way. Like at first, I noticed that like I don't remember if it's in the book, but that she didn't really see the relationship with um Isabella, was it Isabella and not Isabella. Yeah, Isabella and Littledale. And I think when she did, that's when she kind of realized, oh, she can't miss out on that. But at that first, like she was trying to take care of her and guide her into this caring life and teaching and gardening, trying to help her to, be that kind of person. And then when she realized like, oh wait, you care for each other. We can't let this go. So she then totally changes. So it was important. And I feel the same that she just didn't want her to miss out on that.
Maybe I'm not remembering. I didn't get that sense in the book that it almost came across as Cassandra was so clueless as to what was happening between the two of them. And I didn't get that in the book. Am I crazy?
I don't remember the part. I just the movie like she just played like, oh, I didn't know.
And it felt strange.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got the perfect scene there. Perfect screen grab.
So cute. I love it.
It was so good. It was such a satisfying ending amidst all the heartbreak that we knew was coming with Jane passing. That wasn't a surprise, but none of us wanted to watch it and kind of feel like we had to relive it. But having Isabella get her moment, and I think she came across very Anne Elliot, I think, at that time, almost like she couldn't believe that she was getting her second chance and that she was so grateful for it. And I loved those characters. Like, I need a whole nother now side series with the two of them in a cozy cottage.
Yes, I felt a very strong connection to them in the adaptation that I didn't necessarily feel in the book.
Mm.
But I love simple lines like this. To me, a romantic scene doesn't have to go on for paragraphs and pages. It can be something so simple like this, and it's just concise and beautiful. And I loved it.
when done right, you get the sense of yearning and longing and love and all the other adjectives in there. And it did a great job on this.
Absolutely, especially when they had that eye contact, right, when it was just so poignant. It's like, yes, that part.
I love those moments when he drops the bag and you're like, have you either of you seen North and South, the Elizabeth Gaskell adaptation? Okay, we have to watch that.
On my list.
Anyone else has, let me know in the comments. But there's a moment in there when she's leaving and he says the line, "Look back at me," through this like snowstorm. And it's just such a simple line, but it like captures that feeling of like unrequited love and you're not sure what's going to happen. And I felt like when he dropped the bag at that moment that you're like, it still gives you with the like, is he going to keep going or like what's going to happen here? But please let him turn around and the two of them end up together. And it, like you said, Mindy, it was so simple but so well done. All right, let's see what we have. Oh, we'll save that. Let's go back to this before we get to the wrap up here, because I know, Marigold, you do have a few thoughts that you want to get out about the accuracy, and tell us what bothered you in this adaptation.
None of things bothered me, but the one thing that I think, if they really wanted to like include us, knowing that we love Jane Austen and people watching this, the desk should have looked the same. I'm sorry. I mean, is that enough? The Chawton House was this rectangle, which we all know does not look like that either, which is okay. I can get it. It's a different scene. But the table is iconic. It is part of Jane. You need to replicate the table.
I have to agree.
Well, what's so strange is that they did film it at Chawton House. They filmed pieces at Chawton House. So when they don't have the exact, table, because we know it's there, it just strikes as odd.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like it would have been that hard to have somebody craft a little table that they could have used for filming. I mean, I'm sure, I get if they don't want them to use the original, but at least be as close as possible.
Exactly. And it's not like it's a big elaborate table. It's a small little table. You could make that in props, people.
It's like, here's your rectangle in the corner.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just like, I paused it. I was like, what is that? Of course, my mom was watching with me go, is that, it doesn't look like it, but oh no.
Aww.
It's kind of like, if you have her turquoise ring, like if you had a ruby ring, like Jane fans are gonna know the difference between it. So the table is so iconic that, yeah, I have to agree with you. That was a slight to Austen fans there that they tried to sneak that through.
Yeah, not having it.
No. Overall, is everyone open to a rewatch? Would you give it another watch at some point? Did you enjoy it? Were you happy with your hours spent watching Miss Austen?
Well, I would want to go back and reread the portion of the book where Henry Hobday shows up in Southampton, because I remember him, coming to speak to Cassandra again and still kind of expressing feelings for her. But I don't remember him being engaged to someone else yet offering his hand to her.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
It's weird.
It really bugged me because I had said last week about the thing where, I value loyalty and it feels like she's being loyal to Tom. And then here he is being so disloyal to his betrothed by asking another woman to marry him. And I was so conflicted because I think that they would have made such a wonderful match. But when he's promised to someone else, it did not sit well with me.
I was trying to justify that scene. It felt so out of place. And I was like, okay, is he like actually not engaged to someone else and he's just using this as a ruse to like test her? And then if she's like, oh my goodness, I'm brokenhearted, he can be like, surprise, I'm not actually engaged anymore. But then I feel like he was lying. So that didn't feel true to his character either. But like, I was so in the moment when he's like, I'm engaged, and like, even in modern times, I feel like if you're a friend with somebody and you get engaged, you want to like send them a text and say like, "Hey, I know we were together for a long time. Before you hear from anybody else, I want to let you know, like, heads up." Like, that would kind of make sense that he didn't want the news to come from somebody else. But then when he's like, "So, do you have any chances?" I'm like, "What are you doing here? Like, you what? I don't know, how are you going to get rid of the betrothed over here?" She says yes. Like, he did not think that through. I'm afraid. I don't know what was going on with Mr. Hobday in that moment.
Marigold, what did you think?
I agree. I was just like, what is he going to tell her? Like, oh, I forgot I was already to Cassandra. I forgot. So yeah, it was just an odd sound because even my mom was like, then what are you doing here asking her
Right.
or telling her? Why bother come? And I was like, I don't remember this part of the book. She's asking me. And I'm like, I don't remember.
I think in the book that Cassandra finds out he's married and he's already got children from her mother, because the Mrs. Austen and Mrs. Hobday stayed in contact with each other, and so it's years later, and it's like, oh well, Henry's doing really well. He and his wife have X number of kids. Like, so I don't even remember the part in the book where he showed up and kind of proposed to her again.
Do we think they were trying to create like an Edward Ferris moment here of like mixed engagements, but it fell flat? Like, I don't know. We need to talk to someone at Miss Austen headquarters that can clear this up for us. What was Mr. Hobday's plan? What was he going into this with? Because it does not fit his character at all.
I think the writers
Question.
of the show just wanted to torture us some more. Like, as if it wasn't hard enough throughout the whole thing. Let's just turn the screw.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did get a lot of engagements in these 4 episodes. So at least one panned out of all that we had. How many did we have? So we have, okay, Mr. Hobday proposing. We have Jane being proposed to. We have Mr. Litterdale proposal, first one. We'll kind of call that. There's one there. Second proposal to Cassandra.
Yeah.
Second to letter though.
Oh, and Tom. Yeah, I forgot Tom.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the very beginning. So we've got like about 6 proposals in 4 episodes of a show. There was a lot happening.
And only one yes.
And only one yes. The odds may not ever be in the favor of these gentlemen. Okay, let's wrap things up because we could talk about Miss Austen forever. Just to remind anyone, our May book club selection is Longbourn. I know it'll be wrapping up when you see this, but there is still time to join. Check us out on Patreon and come join the community, and you'll get updates as to when we are having our book club chats and all other events that are going on. Which leads us to our June book club selection. We will be reading Shannon Hale, Miss Austen. Mindy is being an overachiever. She's already got to it already. The teacher and you're always ahead of us in the reading. Marigold and I are going to catch up. We will also be watching Austenland together, which is going to be a lot of fun for that watch party. Join us next week. We're super excited. I think we'll probably be talking about our whole plan if we can for what our Sanditon watch party schedule is going to be next week when we get together. So if it's been a while since you've seen Sanditon, like it has been for me, I think both of you, it's been a little bit of time now. So we're going to watch it with fresh eyes, see how we feel about it now that we know what's coming, that Theo is going to let us down. It's going to be okay. We're all going to get through it together. And we're going to have a lot of fun talking about Sanditon. All right, ladies, that was a blast watching and talking about those 4 episodes of Miss Austen. I can't wait to jump on to Sanditon. We got Longbourn, we've got Austenland, so much more Jane Austen goodness coming. All the links will be in the description box below to come join the community. I'm actually going to have a coupon code on there that will be good for a couple days that you can get 10% off your first month if you would like to join us as a friend of the foundation, so you can be involved in all the activities going on. Whew, that was a lot. We did it. We wrapped up. I hope everyone has an amazing time. Happy reading. We will see you next week for Sanditon.
Yay. Woo! Bye, everybody.